Well, look, I think for us, I would summarize it with it's great performance, great prospects, and we're becoming more bullish. Great shareholder returns now and in the future. And as I continue to say, our people continue to strive to beat quarter after quarter, and they've done that 19 times now. So, yeah, it is a record third quarter, record 9 months. We are on our way to our best year ever. We are very focused on beating all our KPIs, both in net revenue, in cost, in capital. We have generated more capital than we thought we would generate. But the underlying important point is that we are accelerating faster than what we thought we would accelerate when we built the 3-year plan that we announced earlier this year. So the underlying is doing better. We are reviewing our prospects. We think that we will be reviewing targets, probably upwards, with the year-end results. And for that reason, we're now considering to take a number of new investments to accelerate the performance of 27, 28 mostly, and a little bit of 26.
So your strategy at the moment is to perhaps pause investments and make sure that you're going to return enough capital to shareholders?
No. What I would say is continue to invest. I think it was JFK who said, you build your roof when the sun is shining. We have our roof, as you can see, but I think we continue to reinforce the core performance of the bank. Given the record results and given that we are witnessing that all of our countries and all of our business are accelerating better than expected, we will be taking new investments, and we are considering the magnitude of them, and we will be taking the cost of those investments into Q4 to further accelerate 26, 27, and 28. For shareholders' remuneration and distribution, I think that, as you will see in my presentation or in our presentation, if you look at what consensus expected from us in terms of distribution to shareholders, post the stakes, our dividends are up. Mm-hmm. Our share buybacks are slightly down, but together with dividend, the total distribution of these two is in line to before. But what we now have is 6.5 billion invested in 2 stakes that through consolidation are adding 1 billion more than we had in our numbers before to 27. And that billion is growing, and is growing at the same speed as us without consuming any capital. So you could say that the shareholder remuneration will remain top tier, if not best in class, for the next 3 years.
Now, when thinking about the guidance for next year, I was very interested in one key sentence in the report. You are confirming the levels at 10.5 billion euros when it comes to net profit guidance. But you are again highlighting excluding potential management actions indeed to benefit 26-27. Can you give us a little bit more color in terms of what sort of activity, what sort of investments do you think would benefit the bank for 26-27?
Well, look, I think when we did the third multi-year plan of phase 2 of our UniCredit Unlocked acceleration, there were 2 things that have changed. One, we had just launched an offer on BPM, and 2, we were extrapolating or trying to map what could be the extent of our acceleration. Today, we don't have BPM anymore, and our acceleration is faster. As our acceleration is faster, to give you an example, and I mentioned it before, Italy has worked on, and we will give detail further down the line, on a new growth plan. That growth plan requires further investment in our network, in our people, more people, in our technology, in AI, to propel the results further. The other countries are on the same level, so all the investments that we're going to make are going to be expensed towards a year that is a record year, without affecting significantly the fact that it will be a record year. But in this way, putting more gasoline to the growth rates trajectory of our earnings and our distribution. A little bit more in 26, because most of this action will hit in 27 and 28, mm-hmm. But we're working on having a 26 that doesn't disappoint.
When it comes to some of the strategy and the future plans, since we last spoke, you consolidated your position when it came to Alpha Bank. I'm trying to understand whether that's perhaps the geography where you would be looking at achieving a more considerable cross-border merger?
Well, look, I would say this. Our association with Alpha Bank is excellent. They work with us probably more tightly than some of the other banks in the group. They're very excited about the partnership. I'm very excited about the partnership. They have allowed us to find out that the setup of a group with the centralized best-in-class factories and all the partnership that we have with in technology, in AI, in cards, etc., and the blueprint on how we do bank can be extended to partners, therefore capturing a lot more value than we thought we could capture, especially cross-border. So as we saw that, and as we were asked, we were very happy to consolidate our stake, and it is probable that at some point we will round it up to about 30% and wait. Why wait? Because we work very well with them. It doesn't add much to do anything else at the moment, but I would recognize that Greece grows much further than the core EU. They're above 2% of GDP.
Right.
They are very welcoming to foreign investment. There is a very pro-business attitude, and I cannot speak well enough about the country, about how we were welcome, and about all the initiatives that we're doing.
So, Mr. Orcel, is it a different environment than the one you're facing in Germany, where the finance minister said that they're rejecting any sort of potential idea of UniCredit buying Commerzbank?
Look, I think we go back to Europe needs to make a number of decisions. I think Europe needs to transform. The problem of Europe is we have outstanding opportunities. I think the value that Europe can create and as an economic bloc is, as much as US or China. I'm a very believer on that. However, we never execute. And so the question is, are we going to execute? And if we execute, people will find out that all of these transformation, investments, all of these things that we need to be doing need to be financed somewhere. And I think no country in Europe, including Germany, that is head and shoulders above everybody else, can do it without capital market union and without banking union, because at the end of the day, that's where the funding for all these things come from.
There was a report suggesting that you considered, or you made the point that you could consider selling your position in Commerzbank to a non-European banking institution. Is that a little bit of a blackmail to the German government?
No, I think it's, look, I think our view is, without going back into history, we are here because we were invited and we thought we had a transaction that would be very different from holding a stake today. When the situation changed, we needed to take a decision. As we're always quite ready and fast in taking decision, we thought that at the levels we had accumulated, it was a good investment to keep. Investment that is contributing more than 2 times, actually almost 2.5 times what it would contribute today if I were buying the shares today. So for our investors, it's a great deal. Secondly, it does provide strategic optionality. But what are we going to do in the long term? Well, hopefully it leads to more. But we're calm because in the meantime, it is one of the engines that contributes that famous 1 billion that we're distributing to shareholders. In the long term, we do what creates value for shareholders. So theoretically, hypothetically, somebody comes around and offers an extending price and it makes sense for our shareholders, we consider that as we consider everything else.
So for the time being, you're not giving up on Commerzbank?
We have not given up. We are observing as an investor how much more value they can create. And obviously we cheer for them because now we're tied. The more value they create, the more they propel one of my key engine in net revenue. So I want them to do more value. I think we were mischaracterized by some saying, they don't want the price to go up. I want the price to go up, but I want it to go up on fundamental, at a valuation that is fair. At the moment, they were detached. But if those fundamental catch up, and I sincerely hope they do, and the price continues to go up, music to our ears, we will make more money from it, and we will drive further. At some point, I hope people will realize that given the setup of a group, as a full combination or as a greater partnership, we can generate a ton of value as we're generating for Alpha and with Alpha in Greece.
I would also like to get your thoughts on what we're witnessing in terms of the macro environment. And we had a small, but nonetheless, a sell-off in European banking last week. We're starting to hear a lot of people in the banking scene, such as the Bank of England, such as Jamie Dimon, talking about cockroaches and concerns in private markets. Is this something that you're also concerned about as you think about the near and medium-term outlook?
Look, I think I was clear in another event, and maybe I was misunderstood at the time. The very near term, 26, end of this year, 26, is complex. And it is complex because the entire sector is going through an adjustment of interest rates that is massive. In the same way that swing up was massive, the swing down is massive. I don't think people realize that when interest rates go down or up, you don't crystallize the impact until sometime later. So they think, oh, it's gone down, nothing has happened, but it will. So there is that. We have all been sitting on a very benign cost of risk, all of us. And those two things combined with an economic growth that is probably not as positive as it was in the US, and we are hoping will pick up in Europe, but for the time being is not picking up. That's the concern. However, I think it is in this time where you get a lot of dispersion in performance between institutions, and this is our time where we will beat what market expects from us. So I am positive in that way, and we're prepared for that.